Spider-Man Brand New Day is set to release in July of this year, and this movie marks the beginning of what I hope will be Tom Holland's next trilogy that would explore Peter's college years. And of course, if Spider-Man 7 through 9 are made, those I imagine would focus on Peter as an adult. Kevin Feige once mentioned wanting 9 Spider-Man movies, which would evolve tonally, taking inspiration from something like the Harry Potter films. The first couple of movies were fairly lighthearted and full of discovery, but as the characters matured, so did the tone. I've always loved when a series grows up with its audience. Smallville and Harry Potter did this perfectly. So with all that in mind, I wanted to take some time to share with you guys my hopes and ideas for what the next Spider-Man trilogy could look like. Where we last left off with No Way Home, Peter had lost everything. His friends, his identity, and even his connection to the larger Marvel universe. The film strips Spider-Man back to his core. In a way, it served as a soft reboot, resetting the character to the street-level hero we first fell in love with in the comics. Now with Brand New Day, it feels like we're entering a new era, one where Peter truly stands on his own. This new trilogy could dive deeper into Peter's struggles balancing college life, financial hardship, and his responsibility as Spider-Man, while introducing new allies and enemies. To kick things off, I would honestly love for this movie to open with Peter catching us up on what's happened in the years since No Way Home. This could even be a perfect opportunity to establish a few of his rogues, such as Rhino, Electro, Sandman, Kraven, Silver Sable, Silvermane, Alistair Smythe, and Vermin. Maybe even proper versions of Molten Man and Hydro Man, this time as genuine threats and not just illusions. I know a few villains are already set to appear, and I imagine they'd show up during the recap. I'm just throwing out some other villains that they could possibly use. I'm also aware that Scorpion and Tombstone are confirmed for this film, and I imagine they'll serve a greater purpose, so they're excluded from this list. And since Peter's in college now, this would be a perfect opportunity to introduce characters like Dr. Connors, Dr. Morbius, Otto Octavius, as well as Norman Osborn. Maybe Peter has already faced Connors as the Wizard, and during his opening monologue, he recounts how he managed to cure him. We could even see a quick flashback of a battered Spider-Man carrying a weakened Connors home to his family. A heartfelt moment inspired by Spider-Man the Animated Series. Their relationship could echo what we saw in Spectacular Spider-Man, the Raimi films, the Amazing Spider-Man films, as well as the 90s animated series, where Spider-Man would often turn to Connors for guidance and advice, highlighting the mentor-like bond between them. And imagine the emotional weight if it's revealed that Peter has been saying all of this while standing at Aunt May's grave. It would perfectly capture the tone of a more mature and grounded chapter in his story. When it comes to his financial struggles, it should be no secret that Peter is not going to be able to afford living on his own. He's going to be forced to live with a roommate. But what if this person is someone Peter is unsure of? Why? Because this young kid shares the same last name as the man who killed his aunt. And what if he meets someone? A girl who provides a sense of warmth to a kid already struggling with so much. At first, Peter is distant. Not because he doesn't care or, just doesn't want to make the same mistakes, but because he's afraid. He's terrified of falling in love again. Terrified of losing someone to the cruel fate that always seems to follow Spider-Man. Because that girl's name is Gwen Stacy. It's time to start bringing in more supporting characters from the Spider-Man mythos, and I'm sure the one we are all hoping is finally acknowledged is Uncle Ben. It's really now or never. I really hope he's mentioned in some capacity in this film. Not even just this film, but this whole trilogy. This character is integral to Peter's growth. After all, he is the reason Peter became Spider-Man in the first place. By the way, High Top actually had a pretty good pitch for how Ben could be mentioned, and I will link that down below because it's pretty good. As for Peter's old friends, Flash, Betty, Ned, and MJ, this new trilogy offers a perfect opportunity to explore them in fresh ways. For example, Betty could be interning at the Daily Bugle, and maybe she helps Peter get a job there eventually. Preferably at the end of the film. I really hope we don't have to wait till like Spider-Man 5 to see Peter at the Daily Bugle. Now, I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of Flash Thompson. Trust me, I understand the criticisms, but hear me out. What if he is throwing a college party that Peter, Harry, and Gwen attend? And because of the spell, like we know, most people wouldn't really remember who Peter is. But imagine if Flash did. Not as Spider-Man, of course, but as Peter. And what if he apologizes to Peter for how he treated him in high school? This could be the start of a new friendship, showing how Peter's world is evolving in college. As for MJ and Ned, I really hope Marvel doesn't rush to restore their memories. The ending of No Way Home was so powerful because it highlighted Peter's sacrifice. I'd rather see that disconnect linger for now. Maybe a brief, fleeting encounter at the party, followed by an emotional moment at the end of the film where Peter selfishly tries to reconnect with them. It would give their reunion more weight and really honor the stakes of what he gave up. Now, we may not know much about Brand New Day, but in my opinion, it looks like the film could be setting the stage for a gang world, featuring characters like Punisher, Tombstone, and even Hulk getting involved, with the hope that Daredevil and Kingpin make an appearance. Now, I'm not sure who Sadie Sink is playing. She could be Santra. Either way, I am excited to see her character. But what if the aftermath, or even during the events of Brand New Day, attracts the eyes of Mayor Wilson Fisk, who tasked the cops, one of them maybe being Captain Stacy, as well as other players within the criminal underworld on unmasking and bringing in Spider-Man. This could be where other characters like Jean Deanwolf, Hammerhead, and Black Cat come into the mix as well. The gang war storyline could easily span over 2 films, with Spider-Man 5 serving as a massive street-level team-up to take down Kingpin and dismantle his empire. Spider-Man 5 will hopefully hit theaters shortly after Secret Wars, picking up with Peter already wearing the symbiote suit he acquires during that event. This installment could be where the gang war reaches its breaking point, with Peter navigating the darker, more aggressive edge the symbiote brings. I would also love for this film to take place during Halloween, giving it a unique tone and visual identity that sets it apart from the rest of this series. And what if they also adapt Hobgoblin in this film, who could be hired as a distraction by Kingpin? I don't want him to be Ned Leeds though. In the comics, Ned was actually framed as a hobgoblin and ultimately died, which could honestly serve as an emotional climax here. And since many characters have taken up the hobgoblin identity over the years, it would honestly fit perfectly with the Halloween theme of who's really behind the mask, with Roger Kingsley of course being revealed as the true mastermind pulling the strings. However, if they wanted to go the route of Ned being Hobgoblin, that could honestly work too. As I mentioned before, Black Cat would make her debut in this film. It would initially be working with the likes of Hammerhead for personal reasons, only to eventually turn on them and help Spider-Man take them down. I see this 5th film being a love letter to Spider-Man the Animated Series, which would be my vision for the film when it comes to its tone, its storytelling. It would draw heavy inspiration from that show's balance of action and emotion, just to give you guys an idea of how I'd want this film to feel. Now, the symbiote on Peter would make him behave similarly to how Spectacular Spider-Man handled it. With it, he feels stronger, faster, more confident, maybe even unstoppable. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Peter has already been through so much. Like, genuinely, like when you really think about it, he's lived a completely different life. He fought gods, been to alien planets, but is unable to tell anyone. No one even remembers that he was there. And who knows what they'll put Peter through during Secret Wars, as he is forced to take down someone who wears the same face as his old mentor. That is where his friends would come in though. Specifically Matt Murdock, who could see the darkness consuming Peter and recognize that the young, broken, 20-something-year-old boy beneath the mask, and he would offer guidance, reminding Peter of the hero he once was. Peter could take the symbiote off in a scene similar to how Spectacular Spider-Man dealt with it, and they could go all out with the scene. Maybe this is finally where we see MCU's Uncle Ben, if they decide to hold him off until this 5th film, as Peter is forced to confront all his traumas in order to free himself from the grasp of the symbiote. We could even see the events of Infinity War, Endgame, No Way Home in some capacity. Now for me, I would like this film to end with Peter finally back in the red and blue, having the weight lifted off his shoulders, as he confesses his love for Gwen, mends other relationships with the likes of Harry, Flash, MJ, Betty, J. Jonah Jameson, etc. And before I forget, I would honestly like for Norman Osborn to be reintroduced near the ending of Brand New Day, or like in a post-credit scene or something, and have an important role in this film as he discovers he is sick with a terminal illness and only has so little time left. Then we get to Spider-Man 6, which as the name entails, would feature the Sinister Six, and would be the most Spider-Man movie yet. The lineup would include Dr. Octopus, Sandman, Electro, Vulture, Kraven, and the big one, Mysterio, who would finally return after all these years having faked his death. During all this, I would like for Norman Osborn to be desperately trying to find a cure for his illness, and in doing so, he creates the Green Goblin, who wouldn't make a grand return until Spider-Man 7, which would be the start of Tom's 3rd trilogy and focus on him after college. But again, Tom is only getting older, and I doubt he'd want to play Spider-Man at almost 40. It really all depends on Sony and Marvel, and how quickly they want to get these Spider-Man films out. I'm not gonna lie, this is where my creative brain died. I have no idea what else could happen next. I know this wasn't the most organized video. You guys are probably like, oh my gosh, what do you mean Norman is sick? Oh my gosh, what do you mean Peter is confessing his love to Gwen? You did not cover this. I know. This wasn't the most in-detailed train of thought, and I'm sorry. It's just me throwing out ideas on what I would like to see in this next trilogy. I mean, now that I think about it, there's just so much more I wanted to say, but I didn't know how to fit it into one video. I will, however, quickly go over what I would like to see in Spider-Man 7 through 9, if we're lucky enough to even reach that point. Spider-Man 7 would adapt the night Gwen Stacy died, with Norman finally succumbing to the Green Goblin persona, leading to Gwen's tragic death and the film's emotional climax. For Spider-Man 8, I would love for this film to adapt Kraven's Last Hunt. We have never gotten a proper adaptation of that amazing graphic novel, and I'm genuinely surprised we haven't, but what better way to adapt it than on the big screen? Finally, Spider-Man 9 would serve as a grand conclusion to Tom's journey as the wall crawler, adapting the child within storyline, a deeply personal and introspective end that brings both Peter and Harry's character full circle. That is all for today. Again, I know this wasn't the most organized train of thoughts, but like I said, it was really just me throwing out ideas, and I would love for you guys to maybe add on to these ideas. Again, if you guys would want to see a continuation of this video, a more in-depth video on Spider-Man 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, on what I would like to see, let me know. I would be more than happy to make a continuation of this video. I'm not even saying what I said is perfect. A year from now, I could look back and be like, why? Why did my brain even think these thoughts? Alright, I'm gonna stop rambling. I'm gonna get out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.